If you're a Canadian planning to move to Spain, or you're already enjoying the tapas and sunshine, you might think you can just keep driving with your Canadian license indefinitely. Now, here's the truth. While some countries have easy exchange policies, Spain does not have a reciprocal driver's license exchange agreement with Canada. And that means after 6 months of living there as a resident, your Canadian license becomes completely invalid for driving, and you have to start the Spanish driving test process entirely from scratch. Now, before we get into the steps, a quick disclaimer. While I'm presenting today, it's not from my personal experience. I actually researched this to help answer a question for someone who posted in an Expat Facebook group. I used Notebook LM to help me research and digest the material so I could verify it and present it to you in a logical, understandable way. I fully expect to have some of this material challenged, but from my personal vetting, I feel confident it has a high accuracy of at least 95%. That said, things might be slightly different depending on which part of Spain you live in. This is where I encourage you all to update the info with your personal experiences in the comments below so that we can all benefit. Today, I'm going to give you the complete, no BS, step-by-step deep dive on how to beat the Spanish bureaucracy. So let's get into it. Well, can you actually beat the bureaucracy? Probably not, but at least I'm going to give you the steps so that you're aware of what you have to do. First, let's talk about the first 6 months in Spain. You can drive legally, but you must carry an international driver's permit, or IDP, alongside your license. Now, I've seen people comment saying, you don't need the IDP, don't worry about it, just bring your driver's license. I've seen other people say, no problem, I could rent a car, they don't care about an IDP. But other people have said, well, that's true if a rental car company lets you do that, but if you're on the road and you get stopped by the police officer, they may have an issue with it. In fact, the IDP is simply a document that helps to translate your Canadian driver's license. So that's what it is. It's not that expensive. As a Canadian, the only place that you can actually legally get an IDP is through the CAA. And from the last time I looked, it was about $31 Canadian. So get this sorted out before you leave Canada. And remember, the IDP is just a temporary bridge. It does not pause your 6-month countdown once you become a resident in Spain. So IDP is great if you're just tourist, you're going there for a few months or a week or whatever, and you can drive with it for 6 months, but after that, Now, so phase 2. Before you even think about getting behind the wheel, you need your paperwork in order. You cannot start any driving process with the DGT, which is the Spanish Traffic Authority, without your NIE. Some alphabet soup here, right? Which is a foreigner identification number. Once you have your NIE, your very first active step is the Psicotécnico. This is a mandatory medical and psychological exam that costs between 30 euros and 50 euros. You can walk into an authorized clinic, they can check your vision and your hearing, and then they make you use a little joystick to keep a digital ball inside a line to test your hand-eye coordination. Pass that and you are officially cleared to take the driving exams. Again, all the links that I got this information from will be in the description below. You can check it out yourself and vet it yourself, and I encourage you to double check and put comments if you think I've got it wrong here. Now, the next step is the theoretical exam. This is a 30-minute, 30-question multiple choice test, and you're only allowed a maximum of 3 mistakes. The good news is that the official exam is now available in English. There is bad news though, because you have to be warned. The translations are often done literally from Spanish and can be tricky to understand. So the one video that I watched that talked about it said it's almost like they're legally translating the document with a legal terminology. Just imagine you're reading legal terminology in English. Now you're reading a translated legal terminology from Spanish into English in a way that is actually literally translated. So not the way that we talk in English, but the way that Spanish people talk in Spanish. I can't even get the words out. I'm already getting confused, and I'm not even taking the exam today. So um, here's a pro tip that's come out of this. Also, you do not need to pay a driving school for the theory part. You can study for this part independently, and it's known as doing it por libre. You can just study the materials at home and pay the 94 euros DGT traffic tax, which gives you 2 attempts to pass. Now, once you pass the theory and you hit the part that makes expats pull their hair out, is the practical road exam. By law, my understanding, you cannot take this test independently. I did get a comment on my TikTok account from someone that said, yes, they used their own parents' car to do that, but from what I've researched, you must register with an official driving school or autoscuela and use their dual control car. This is why some expats from Canada, the US, Australia complain about the system. Your driving instructor sits in the passenger seat during your exam, while the DGT examiner sits in the back. Your instructor can actually influence whether you pass or fail. And if you fail, you're forced to buy more mandatory practical lessons before you can give it a try. There's one video of a guy that says it's like a mafia. Like, I'm not going to say it's a mafia or not, but imagine this. You're sitting and your instructor's beside you, and they can actually tap the brake, which from my understanding makes you instantly fail because they felt they had to do it, which means that you have to now take additional courses that pay the driving school to allow you to get back to do another test. Please tell me if this is accurate or not. If you've done this, I'd really like to know because it's important. Now, if the exam itself says it's about 25 minutes long, as an experienced Canadian driver, this will be your biggest hurdle because you have to unlearn your driving habits. And sometimes I wish that expats from other countries coming to Canada would unlearn their driving habits when coming on our roads. Honestly, I do, but that's a different story. Spanish examiners are incredibly strict about exaggerated mirror checking, yielding to the right at unmarked junctions and roundabout right-of-ways. So what I take from this is that if you're driving and you got the DGT person behind you and your instructor there, if you're going to check your blind spot, you got to really check your blind spot. It's not just like looking like this and looking into the mirror, because they can't see your eyes. They expect you to show them that you know that you have to be looking around all the time, still while paying attention to the road in front of you. And the roundabouts, yeah, that took me a while to figure out. I drive a lot in Europe as well, and the first time with the roundabouts, I had no idea what I was doing. Now I love them, but here's the thing: maybe I'm wrong. Like maybe the way I've been driving in Europe, it's technically okay, but you have to remember they're going by the book. They want you to know, to show that you are literally following the book that the police wouldn't follow, and so on and so forth. So just be aware of that. Don't think that you've got 30 years of driving under your belt internationally in Canada that you can just put your hand on the wheel and a hand on the joystick, the gear shift, because they may not like that. In fact, I remember taking a little bit of a pre-training course the first time I drove in Spain. I took a course. Sorry, I hired a private instructor in Romania. And we went on some hills, and he kept on slapping my hand whenever I moved it to the gear shift when I wasn't ready to shift yet. He wanted always to see my hands on the steering column. This is just, I wanted to give you the idea of what you may have to remember, because we have muscle memory. And if you're a driver and if you drive stick shift, you're gonna have to fight your muscle memory. The other thing I want to say is that I have researched and read that if you decide not to take the test with the gear shift, that's fine. You can do it in an automatic car. However, you will have your license stamped with something saying that you cannot buy or rent a car that is not automatic. And that might be a problem because Europe still has a lot of non-automatic vehicles if you ever want to rent or buy. Now, the cost and timeline. So what is the final damage of this? Research tells me that between the Autoescuela package, the mandatory lessons, the DGT fees, and the medical test, expect to spend around anywhere from 700 euros to 1,200 euros to get your Spanish license. The whole process realistically takes 2 to 6 months. Yeah. It's expensive and tedious, but once you swallow your pride and play by their rules, the freedom of driving down the Spanish coast makes it totally worth it. Now, if it takes 2 to 6 months, you may not want, and you're planning to stay there, maybe you want to use that 6 months that you're allowed with your IDP to get that process going. Don't let the IDP expire and then, get into that. So, what else do I want to say? I think that's about it. If you found this really helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to my travel vlog for more deep dives into navigating life abroad. And hey, if you want to understand the money side of moving overseas, you can check out my other channel, which is called Canadian Expats. The links are in the description. And finally, I am working on another video. I'm not sure what direction I'll go. I'm looking at either doing Costa Rica visas, or hey, what's the etiquette in a London pub? So if you want to help and vote for that, please go ahead and put in the comments, and I'll start working on that right away. Drop your votes in the comments, pick the topic, or give me a new one and I'll get to work. Don't forget to leave your own driving test experiences down there too, and I'll see you next week. Ciao for now.